All right, so let's talk about the United Earth Alliance, the Earthlings, the guys trying to boldly go, places. And you can see their player board on your screen right there. All right, so they start off with 2 D6s and a D8, so a couple of just normal dice, and then this bigger kind of dreadnought warship kind of thing. Not as good as the Noxian Empire ship, but still pretty good, still pretty formidable in combat, can help you win some points there at the end of the game. And let's talk about their structure. So the first one, you have the circular token here, the colony, which allows you to get resources based on where it is. So this colony here would allow you to get a graphene resource anytime you did an exploit action. And the next thing are these warp gates. Now these are pretty cool. This is also the first level of their upgrade track. So once you get a warp gate on a planet, and you'll also notice that you start off with one on Earth, not only you get victory points at the end of the game, but you can also, as a free action, anytime on your turn. So this is at the beginning, the middle, even right after your second action, at the very end before the next player goes, you can use it as just a free action to move any of your ships from one planet with a warp gate to another. And so let's say, I built that, I've got the first level upgrade, and I want to use the warp gate on my turn, I would just go, boom. There it is. I didn't have to flick, I didn't have to move, I didn't have to do anything like that. I could just appear there. So basically they want to use these warp gates to move, all over the galaxy and kind of spread out and be able to jump around. And so let's say you see the Noxian dreadnought over here, the giant warship that's right here, and it's like, it's probably coming for me. So on my turn, I'm going to warp back so it can't hit me. So you can do some different offensive, defensive kinds of things. Maybe there's a deliver mission over here and you want to just boom and turn that in and get that real easy. That's a great way to do that. The next thing on their upgrade track is you get 1 reflick per move action. So let's say I was trying to go from Earth over here to this planet and I just whiff. Oh, well, in this case, I would get to do it again. So I could bring it back. You had to put it back on whatever side it was. It was on a 6, so I had to put it back on 6, and I get to reflick. Let's say I want to go there, but you get to reflick, and so it's really helpful, especially if you're not a great flicker. If if you coughed while you're flicking, or you sneezed or something like that, and you had a bad flick, this will kind of help you mitigate that and get another shot. And then the last thing on their upgrade track is you get extra points for colonies, and so they really want to spread out. They really want to explore and build stuff in different places, and so you get bonus points for your colonies, and so that's a really good way to get a lot of points towards the end of the game. So the United Earth Alliance, that's what they want to do. They want to spread out, they want to explore, and this is a really good faction for younger people. If you've got kids, maybe you got an 11-year-old, 10-year-old that's not great, that their motor skills are still coming in, and so they need extra flicks and whatnot. And so this is a good faction for them. You get to reflick, and then you get to, you don't have to flick. You can use the warp gates and jump around the board that way and make flicks easier. And so this is a really good faction for kids, and also for people that just aren't very good at flicking. So if you get that person in your group that hates dexterity games, that hate flicking games because they're not any good at them, this is a good faction for them to use because they don't have to flick as much, and they can kind of mitigate the number of times that they have to use move actions. So that's the United Earth Alliance. All right, so let's talk about the Noxian Empire. You can see their player board there on the screen, and this is the warrior race. These are the guys that they want combat. They want to run around the galaxy blowing stuff up, but it's not necessarily their fault. As you can see on their planet, it's kind of being destroyed. It's slowly breaking apart. We're in the midst of a really bitter war with another faction that's hopefully going to be opened up with one of the stretch goals. I'm really excited about that one, called the Dominion of Doracor. But anyway, this really bitter war between the two, and in the process of that war, their planet kind of got destroyed, or at least it's on its way to being destroyed. Not quite there yet, so you got these last remaining Noxian ships getting off the planet, trying to find a new home, so to speak. So they're trying to go out into the galaxy and find a new place to live, but also to bring a little bit of pain and suffering to some other people, just so they're not the only ones that feel like they've lost something. And so they've got these really kind of beefy ships. They have a 12-sided die and then 2 8-sided die. So they're really good at combat, and you'll also see that in their abilities, their upgrades, and things like that. All right, so let's talk about their buildings first. First thing is an outpost. Right, this is a place where they're just now trying to kind of build up, maybe something's going to be a future colony or something like that, but it'll allow you to gather resources. So if you had one here, you'd be able to gather a quantum resource whenever you do the exploit action. So the next thing is an armory. And so if you have one of these square tokens on a planet, it gives you victory points, but also it allows you to, if you get destroyed, so let's say your D8 over here got blown up and it had to return, you could either return it back to Nox, or you could return it to a planet that has an armory. So it allows you to not have to make the full trip back. Basically, they're building factories around the galaxy to build warships, to build different things, and so you could put your ship back there as opposed to having to come back home. Next thing, let's talk about their upgrades. So the first one is you get to add 1 to combat cards. And so anytime you play a combat card, so if you play this one and you're attacking or defending, then it would be +1. So instead of being a 3, this would be a 4. So as you can tell, they're already not only able to destroy people a little bit easier because they have this big 12 and these 2 8s, but then they can also add more to their combat cards, making it a little hard to destroy their ships. So let's look at the next thing on their upgrade track, and it says 1 reflick per attack action. So let's say for a moment that this poor pitiful blue ship, this Corvallis ship, was sitting there as a 1, and it's just right outside their home planet. It just looks so enticing, and so you say, I'm going to attack them. So you take your hyperspace token out here, you can play cards, and then let's say you wanted to use your big beefy 12 trying to attack them. Well, what this upgrade allows you to do, let's say you totally miss. Well, you get to go again. You get to do it again. So you take it, whatever number it was supposed to be on, you put it back. So 12, like I'd say it had rolled, no, to a 1. Okay, I get to put it back at 12. And I get to bring it back to where it was and flick again. And so it allows you just a second chance to do an attack action. Again, more likelihood of success. 11 to 1, yeah, we know who wins that one. And then if you max out the upgrade track, then all your combat victories are +1. And so normally you get a 1-point token for any combat victory, so I would have won that one right there, and I've gotten this 1-point token, and now at the end of the game that would actually be worth 2. And so as you can tell, the Noxian Empire, they really want to blow stuff up. They want to travel around the galaxy, you know, destroying other ships. And so if you've got somebody in your play group that really likes combat, really likes blowing stuff up, this is the faction for them. All right, so let's talk about the Surge, and there you can see their player board on the screen. And these guys originate from somewhere deep inside this asteroid field. Nobody really knows where they came from, how they came to exist, or how they took over their first ship. But anyway, they did it, and now they're trying to spread throughout the galaxy. They're kind of like the Flood from Halo. They want to take over your brain. They want to take your stuff and kind of make it theirs. They take over technology, they take over living tissue, and yeah, that's kind of what their deal is. And so they're trying to spread throughout the galaxy, spread their hatcheries, and eventually take things over. And they have 2 D4s and a D6 that all originate here on this asteroid field. And for buildings, first one, they have the circular token here is a hive, and so it allows you to get resources. So if you had one there, you get a tech resource during an exploit action. And they also have these square tokens, which are hatcheries, right? And these don't really do much for you, but you got a bunch of them. So they have a whole bunch of these. They have the most buildings of any other faction. And so if they're able to get their engine going and really start building a lot of different structures around the galaxy, they can get a lot of points in not a lot of time. Their structures are also a lot cheaper than everybody else's. And so if they can get things moving, if you don't keep them in check, they will spread without you even realizing it. All right, so let's talk about their upgrade track. Now, the first thing you'll see on there is that you can flick 1 bug per turn, and you get this little token, this little wooden disc right here, and it goes on your asteroid field. And you can flick it from anywhere inside the asteroid field, inside the circle here, and it's a little nasty beast there. Because you might be thinking, well, gosh, they only use D4s. I mean, that's going to be really hard for them to win any kind of combat or do anything like that. But that's where this bug comes in, this parasite. Because what happens is, let's say somebody gets a little too close. Let's say this big D12 gets a little bit too close to your asteroid field, or heck, you can go all the way across the board if you want to. But if they get too close, you can flick this at the beginning of your turn. Has to be the beginning. If you forget, too bad, you have to wait till your next turn. But if it comes into contact with any other ship, any of your opponent's ship, has to be the first one that you hit. You now own that ship. That's now mine. It's no longer the Noxian Empire's giant warship. It's now mine. And now I can use it to go around the board and do it for anything I want. If I want to attack other people, I can. If I want to use it to exploit things, I can. If I just want to send it off into the, into the void, lost in space, I can do that too, because it's now mine. At the end of the turn, the bug goes back on top of here, and it will stay there. The only way for a person to get their ship back is if they use a return action. They can just take it, and that would come back here. The bug would come back to my asteroid field. They take their ship, return it to their home planet, or let's say the bug is there and it's not my turn, somebody else's turn, or even it's my turn, and somebody accidentally knocks it off. If the bug ever falls off for any reason other than on purpose, if somebody can't be like, whoops, that doesn't work. But if they knock the bug off just through a move action or through an attack action, if it falls off, then the bug comes back home, that ship goes back to the original owner. Or if I just decide I want to use the bug again on a future turn. So if it comes back around, it's my turn again, I decide, I don't want this warship, I want this other ship way across the other part of the galaxy, I can take the bug back off and flick it again, and the ship would go back to the original owner. So that's a nice little thing, and it allows you to keep other players in check. So if you have someone that's going around the board, destroying other people, you're like, nope, that's mine now. Or if you just don't want to use your D4s, you want to take somebody else's stuff, you can do that. So the next thing is that your mothership can't be destroyed. So your mothership is this bigger, is this D6. You have the two D4s that are kind of small ones, and you have the D6, just your mothership. So what happens with it? Let's say it gets destroyed on a future turn. So 10 to 6, hey, he gets blown up. Normally you'd have to bring it back to your home planet. If you have that upgrade, it stays where it is. So you can choose to leave it there. You can choose to bring it back. It's up to you. So if you want to leave the ship there, maybe you've got something over here you're trying to work on, trying to build something, somebody blows you up, and you want to leave it there, you can't. Because basically the Surge, they pull stuff back together. They use this kind of tissue that they're made of to pull ships back together to keep them held together and then keep flying. They don't breathe oxygen or anything like that. And so they can kind of hold stuff together. And the last one is you get an extra bonus point for each hatchery. So again, these hatcheries are a big deal for them. They want to build as many as they can. And so normally they're worth 2 points at the end of the game. But if you get this upgrade, they're worth 3. So you can get a lot of bonus points if you build those and get that final upgrade. So again, they want to spread. They want to go in every planet, build hatcheries on every planet, and eventually take over everything. All right, so let's talk about the Koravali Trade Federation. You can see their player board on the screen there. And these guys, they start off with 3 D6. Their fleet's a little more consistent than the rest. They don't have some kind of big warship or dreadnought or anything like that because they're a trade federation. They want to run around the board, run around the galaxy, and deliver stuff and complete missions, and that's kind of the basis of their strategy in the game. Now, as far as structures, their round token are what's known as markets, and this just allows you to exploit on planets and gather that resource. And then their square structures are called warehouses, and these are pretty cool with what they allow you to do. So if you have a warehouse on a planet and you have a ship on that same planet, it allows you to trade 1-for-1 resource. And so let's say you've got a trade good, but you really need a quantum. If you have a warehouse on a planet and a ship, you can basically just discard the trade good and take the quantum. So it kind of lets you take some things out of storage, so to speak. So if you need to complete a deliver mission or do something building wise, this really helps out with that. All right, so let's talk about their upgrade track. Well, the first upgrade, it just allows you to use those warehouses. So once you hit that upgrade, the warehouses are actually useful. The next one, it allows you to use what are known as claim tokens, this KTF claim token. And so this allows you to basically hold a mission card. So let's say this mission card's on the board and you're not quite able to get to it on your turn, but you'll maybe be able to get to it next turn, something like that, but you're afraid maybe somebody will take it out from underneath you. And so you can place one of your claim tokens. You start off with 2 of these on that card. And so play would continue normally clockwise, but no one on their turn can claim this card. Now you have the rights to it. Once it gets back to your turn, this token is now discarded. You can only use it once during the game, since you only get 2 uses during the game. You got to use them strategically, but then you can complete that mission and get those victory points. And then the last upgrade just gives you bonus points for your deliver mission card. So instead of being worth 2 points, they're all worth 3 points instead. So if you get a lot of these, it can really make or break a game. So other players have to be aware of your missions and what you're doing, running around the board, and the different things that you're completing. They kind of have to keep you in check and make sure you don't get too many points through those deliver missions. And so those are the highlights of the Koravali Trade Federation.